The Batman is directed by Matt Reeves and is the newest Batman film. And just to get off the bat, I think this film is fucking phenomenal. I loved almost every second of it. I watched it in IMAX. Go watch it in IMAX if you get the chance because it looks great. Props off to Greg Fraser, the cinematographer. Every shot in this film looks fucking beautiful. Like it could be its own poster. Every shot. I kid you not. This film looks great. I'm not going to get into any spoilers for this film because I'm pretty sure everyone's going to see it anyways, but I just want this to be solely about the filmmaking aspect of this. I will get into spoilers when I do my next podcast, but for now, this is just going to be a spoiler-free review. Anyways, The Batman. So it tells a story about Bruce Wayne, how he's been Batman for 2 years in Gotham City because, crime is so bad there. And a string of murders are happening, and they're all linked to the Batman. Letters are left behind for the Batman. So him and Commissioner Gordon decide to work together to figure out, what the Riddler is trying to do. The Riddler is the main villain of this film. How are all these deaths connected? And then trying to figure out who's going to be killed next so they can stop him and put an end to these murders that are going on. This film is so damn unique. I'm going to say that because it's unlike anything I've seen in quite a while from a superhero film. A lot of people have been saying that it feels like Seven, and it does. And I've heard a lot of talks about how Matt Reeves was actually inspired by Chinatown. And in parts, I can see that because this is a drama. It's a detective film as well. There's a lot of detective work with the Batman character, trying to figure out what's going on. How are these murders connected to each other? And how do they link to him? Why are they linked to him? Because the Riddler is leaving behind these messages for the Batman. Something this film excels at, I believe, is the pacing, because throughout the nearly 3 hour long runtime, it doesn't feel like it's 3 hours long. There are a couple points where I felt as if it did feel like it was a 3 hour film, because there's a couple of scenes that I felt it was dragging on just a little too much. And one of those scenes happens to be with Catwoman, who is a nice inclusion to the film. It's just that there are certain aspects of her and Batman's relationship in this film that feel sort of forced and unnecessary for the overall plot of the film. It just seems to make the film feel just a tad bit longer than it feels like it actually does, because for the most part, like I said, this film just sails along so damn smoothly. Before I get into what I really want to talk about for this review, I'm going to say that on a filmmaking aspect, this film is just beautiful. It gets almost everything right. What they do, especially with rack focuses, that being something focuses in the foreground and then it focuses on something in the background, or vice versa. It's fucking breathtaking what they do in this, especially what exactly they're showing, how much depth it is between the foreground and the background, the movements that are happening. It's just everything technical about this film is amazing. The sound design, when Batman's just walking down a hallway, you can hear the metal and the rubber of his boots just squeaking and clanging on the floors, especially when it's raining too. Oh my god, it's breathtaking. It's beautiful. It's everything. I'll say everything technical about this film is just drop dead gorgeous. And I want to give props to Michael Giacchino for composing this film. The guy's a great composer. He's phenomenal. He's done the Spider-Man MCU trilogy. He did Up, Doctor Strange. I'm not sure if he's doing the sequel. He did Rogue One. This dude has a great track record for him. And I've heard a lot of that it must have been very difficult to try and live up to the previous Batman scores. The Dark Knight trilogy, Danny Elfman's score for the original Batman film. And I think this score stands out perfectly on its own, as well as the rest of the film, but I'm going to finish my thoughts on the score. The theme for the film, when you first hear it in the beginning, it gives you the sense of dread, of fear, especially with Batman saying, "Oh, I live in the shadows." And it's a little frightening, actually. And when you hear the theme later on throughout the film, it really amplifies the moods that it's trying to set throughout the film, and it's fucking breathtaking. I love that score, and I love the main theme. I've had it stuck in my head for these past 2 days. A lot of people were very concerned about Robert Pattinson being Batman and Bruce Wayne, but I had no issues whatsoever because Robert Pattinson has come a long way since being the guy in the Twilight films. I watched him in The Lighthouse, and I thought he was spectacular. You know, you couldn't even realize that it's the guy from the Twilight films. He was amazing, and he's really damn good in this film too, both as Bruce Wayne and Batman. But a lot of that has to do with the direction from Matt Reeves. It's what does Batman do when someone talks to him? It's the way he's walking. It's the way he's looking at people. His voice. I love the Batman voice, and I love the Batman suit. It looks metallic. It looks menacing, scary. It's dark and grim. Everything about the look of that suit I love. Now, of course, it's cool to see Batman and Bruce Wayne do all the detective work, but I think what everyone loves to see from these superhero films are the action scenes, and every action scene in this film is breathtaking. Batman beating the shit out of guys to a pulp, it's awesome to see. This is some of the coolest Batman action I've seen, and I don't want to compare this to other Batman films because this does truly stand out on its own. I think this film is unique. It's artistic. I wouldn't say smart, but it's very different. It's just such a damn good, enjoyable film. I can't praise this film enough. All of the acting's good. All of the acting's good from everyone. John Turturro plays Falcone, and it was a surprise to see him. I didn't know John Turturro was going to be in the film. I saw him go, oh shit, it's John Turturro, and he's doing a really damn good job. Paul Dano as the Riddler. His voice is mysterious, it's weird, and I thought it fit the character very well whenever you see him with the mask on. A lot of people are giving praise to Colin Farrell for playing Penguin in this film, and they're saying, oh shit, you can't even recognize it's Colin Farrell, and he did a damn good job too. For the parts that he is in the film, he just does a really good job. It's not like Danny DeVito Penguin, but it's something different. It's what the film needed. I bring up Danny DeVito Penguin because what this film is, it feels so grounded. It feels realistic, especially with the plan of Riddler. What's going on, how he's messing with Batman and the detectives and the police force. His plan almost seems realistic. It feels like it could actually happen. For the most part, until you get to what happens at the end. It's a little strange what happens, but it's acceptable, especially for what was going on. What I couldn't get behind, though, was the motive of the villain. I thought certain things were going to play out differently, but the fact that it was so believable for the most part makes me forgive the motive of the villain. And it did feel a little strange once you figure out what's actually going to happen. And once you figure out the backstory of the Riddler, it doesn't feel like this character was so tortured and needed to do this. I felt as if it was fleshed out a little more, then maybe this villain's motives would have felt more reasonable. But for the most part, I thought it was a good villain. I thought Riddler did give a menacing threat to this film. There is one thing I need to bring up about this film, and that is the rating. This film is rated PG-13, and a lot of people were expecting it to be rated R, myself included, and that's because from the trailers, it looked like this would be a much more grim and dark version. And DC has proven themselves to be successful with these R-rated films, that being Joker and The Suicide Squad. They were very successful both critically and commercially. I do think that an R rating would have definitely helped this film out just a little bit more, and that's because it feels like there should be a lot more blood. It feels like not a lot of impact is happening with these kills and a lot of the fighting going on. Now, don't get me wrong, the action looks great. It looks phenomenal. It looks breathtaking. It's gorgeous. But there are some times where it does feel like a little blood is needed. And it feels like it would have a little bit more weight and consequence to what we're seeing. It feels like it would be a little more believable. But I'm not saying that I was dissatisfied with what I saw. It just felt as if there was more blood, it would have been just a little bit better. But overall, I do think that the PG-13 rating isn't bad. The R-rated version, I believe, would have been a little more better. We could have got a little more swearing. They do drop one F-bomb, as you are allowed to do so in a PG-13 rated film. I just do feel like we should have seen a little more blood, considering how many dead bodies there are in the film. Earlier, I mentioned that there were some scenes that felt unnecessary for the film. And if you don't know, there were a bunch of rumors some months ago saying that Barry Keoghan was going to play a character. And this specific character was in a scene that was added in certain cuts that they showed to people for test audiences. And it was whether or not this character would be in the film or not. And I would say that that scene was interesting, but it felt unnecessary and it felt forced so they can set up more films going on down the line. One of my favorite aspects of this film, aside from the look of it, aside from the direction, aside from the action scenes, is the main theme. And I'm not talking about the score. I'm talking about the moral that this film is going for, about why Batman is doing what he does and what he hopes to do for the city in the future, because he's only been doing this for 2 years and we don't get the backstory of every other Bruce Wayne where his family was killed and that's why he becomes Batman. It just feels like he's become Batman because of the crime in Gotham. We get to see how he takes out his anger on these thugs, on these criminals, especially near the end. There's a really powerful scene at the end where you feel Batman come to a realization about what he's doing. And is he being the hero he should be? Is he being the hero he could be? But overall, I thought the Batman was phenomenal. I left the theater with a big ass smile on my face. I can't praise this film enough. I love this film. I want to watch it again. The runtime is not going to irk me away. It's beautifully shot. It's on a filmmaking scale so damn beautiful. And the acting is great all around. I love the action scenes. And I only have a few gripes with it. I really do think this film is special. And it's going to make bank. And I think a lot of people are enjoying it. I'm going to give the Batman an A. It's really something special, to me at least. So anyways, that is my review for The Batman. I will be talking about spoilers later on down the line in one of my podcasts. So tell me what you thought about The Batman. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you think it was okay? Did you love it like I did? Tell me in the comments below. And I'll be back with more enjoyable content like this. So bye.